What is up, RotoGrinders? Happy Monday. Right now, start of 2 hours. 2 hours of nonstop NBA DFS conversation, taking y'all straight up to lock, 7 o'clock on the East Coast. It is a big boy slate in the association, not messing around. 12 official games. DK booted off the last game. You don't have to worry about Embiid. Actually, he's already gotten ruled out. The Sixers are so shamed and so embarrassed last time with their late scratch of Embiid. I suppose they actually wanted to give people some updated information. Although Maxey is questionable because you can't have all sorts of nice things out there. But hey, if you're playing a little showdown, enjoy yourself some Sixers and Blazers. FanDuel decided to kick off the last two games. Last two games are off the slate, so it's a 10-gamer on FanDuel, an 11-gamer on DK. Plenty of games to pick from. We have Squirrel Patrol, one of the greatest DFS players of all time, $1 million winner at least once, 99-time live finalist. Is that correct, Squirrel? Is that the official number last count?
It is, yeah. Like I have like standard, right? So like I only count it if I make it to the last round. But then I also count like I had like 6 FanDuel ones during COVID. They just ended up canceling and paying those out. But like I figured that's not my fault, so I still count those. So up to 99.
So no asterisks. Yeah, it's officially 99. We're not fudging the numbers, nothing like that. Yeah, we got a big boy slate here on a Monday. You also have Will. You guys know Will from many different places. The prop shop. The prop shop's free. If you guys are not aware. If you're talking props all day, you like some props or dabbling in the underdog streets, prize picks, things of that sort, jump into the prop shop with Will in the Discord, rotogrinders.com/Discord. It is free. All you need is a RG account. It's not to be a paid RG account. Nice community there. What's up, Will? How's Monday?
It's good, man. I'm actually I'm sitting here diving in on DraftKings because on my phone, like for my single entry build, because this Memphis news just screwed everything up and put all this value in play. And so now I've got to make some tweaks. But other than that, man, I'm doing good. I will tell you right out of the gate, I don't know if Squirrel's going to do this. Here's my hot take for the day. I'm just not clicking on Gilliard today. Like, he's just going to get the X button. And today is the day he drops 50, folks. I'm just telling you. But I can't do it. I'm just Squirrel. That's probably a slight reverse of what you may do, but he's getting the X button for me today. That's my hot take for the day. Just going to leave him out and let the chips fall where they may. He's been so bad when given opportunity.
Yeah, no, I mean, yeah, we'll get to it with Memphis. I'm not like a huge, like he's put up like 9
It's yucky
points in the last like 2 games. You don't have to feel like you're offending me with your Jacob Gilliard hesitation or whatever.
Scottie Pippen Jr. may have passed him in the rotation. The thing with Memphis is they lost more bodies. They're down to 8. You need to dress 8. You must dress 8 to play an actual basketball game. They only have 8 possible, and Vince Williams is one of those 8. He's currently questionable. We'll get there, and I just think that there's a slight chance. I'm not trying to be paranoid, but there's a slight chance Vince Williams is active because like otherwise they're just going to like forfeit the game, and maybe he's not starting, and maybe he only plays in case of emergency. So just something to watch there. And, of course, if he plays, he might play 35 minutes and be a good play. But just the Vince Williams situation. Conchar is not available, right? Williams is – wait, are those guys they're doubtful officially, right? Have they officially been ruled out?
Those were the big ones for me today. Like when which I knew some of them were like iffy, but, I mean, they started ruling out everybody. Like Zaire Williams is out. He doesn't even play as much as everybody else. I said, oh, this is going to get very interesting. Today. And like, that's probably the pressure point for half the value on the slate, I would say. Wouldn't you say, Squirrel? Like, that's most of the value that everybody's going to gravitate towards someone from that game.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, that was kind of like the big injury news midday was like Memphis ruling everybody out. I think they might be signing somebody, trying to get confirmation.
For tonight, or like are they in the area? Like, are you 6'5"? Did you play any basketball in high school or college? Are you within 20 miles?
Yeah, Oklahoma City did that. They were like calling people out of the stands, and like some guys started. I remember it was 2 years ago, some April game, like somebody put up like a 2020 game for Oklahoma City.
Lindy Waters, it might have been.
Yeah, it was somebody like that. So Shams just tweeted out they signed Matt Hurt from the Memphis Hustle or something.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So
that makes way more sense too. That makes sense.
Yeah. Might be bad news for Vince Williams' availability.
Yeah, that's a good point. And Man, could you guys pick Matt Hurt out of a lineup? I don't know who Matt Hurt is. Let's see, 23 years old. All right, he's he plays for. I guess he went to Duke. Okay, I don't really know college ball. So, Bill, you watch some college ball, right? You aware of the existence of Matt Hurt?
I couldn't pick him out of a lineup, but like I've heard of him.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, something to monitor, of course. Again, it seems like they're going to be down to 8, I guess possibly 9. Memphis taking on Sacramento, pretty positive matchup. And 8 o'clock is the official tip-off time for that one. There are a couple games at 7. Again, we're working all the way up till 9 o'clock on DK, and I think 8:30 on FanDuel. I believe that's the case.
Yeah.
There's one 9 o'clock game that is Giannis taking on Joker and Jamal Murray. DK kept that game on the slate, and FanDuel did not. We have some if-then setup we'll talk about throughout the slate as well. Lots of questionable guys, as far as the rest of the slate. But the other team, by the way, well, you kind of mentioned the Memphis value. Before the Memphis stuff really fell apart, Julius Randle being out for New York. And we know Tibbs keeps a tight rotation. And we know they have an incredible matchup there versus Charlotte. So that's kind of the old perfect storm where you're going to get guys like Jalen Brunson playing 40 minutes versus the Hornets. I know they bumped him up a little bit, but still he looks spectacular. Dante DiVincenzo, Josh Hart probably jumps in the starting rotation. Quentin Grimes should get some run as well. Hartenstein is Hartenstein questionable? He's assumed in. I think he's assumed in, right? Did we get an official deal?
I think he was assumed in for now.
Yeah.
But Dean, you're burying the lead here, man. You're burying the lead.
What's the lead?
The lead is OG Anunoby.
Yeah, I mean, he's another guy that's going to get a lot of run. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, like he's definitely getting run. Like Brunson, Hart, OG, those guys are going to play 40 minutes if this game is close. Like they're all playing. Isaiah Hartenstein, I mean, maybe, but OG, Hart, and Jalen Brunson, those 3 guys, you just have to trust me on this. This Hornets team is all time bad. Like
I've seen them.
I watch a lot of Hornets basketball, and I know this isn't the traditional DFS analysis, but you just have to trust. Like this team, like it's rough in the streets of Charlotte right now.
Yeah, I feel bad. You got the exacta box of rooting for the Hornets and the Carolina Panthers, which is like the nut low in both sports. But I guess Squirrel kind of has that as well to some degree with the Wizards and the Commanders.
Squirrel. Squirrel, I feel your pain actually. Like this isn't empathy. This is actually it's bad.
And the Capitals stink now too, right? Is Ovechkin kind of done at this point?
I think so. I haven't heard about them. I don't follow hockey that closely. But yeah, everything's just stick a fork in everything. The Nationals.
Yeah. Well, that's unfortunate.
Oh man.
All right, Squirrel, what do you got to
that going for me? My baseball team is the Braves because we don't actually have a professional team in the Carolinas. So most people in the Carolinas root for the Braves unless you are into a minor league ball, which we've got the Charleston River Dogs here. We've got the Charlotte Knights in Charlotte. So if you're in a minor league ball, like, okay, we kind of have a team. But professionally, the Braves are about it.
I've been to a couple River Dog games. That's Bill Murray owns that team, or at least he's part owner of that team. All right. Let's get the screenshot. What are we looking at here as far as the slate outside of Memphis, outside of New York? There's a lot of studs. There's a lot of good players, and maybe like chalk is going to condense. So it feels like a good night for both you guys. Both you guys like to look at stuff as tournament wise, but how you feeling about that, Squirrel? Like there are players like Luka. Luka's been insane. They're running him into the ground, despite the fact like he can barely move down the court sometimes. He's playing like 45 minutes a night. We saw LeBron, who's currently questionable, play legit like 45 minutes or so last time. 8:39, put up an insane triple-double, just outrageous. It was double overtime. It's also the front half of a back-to-back. And this game should be prioritized over tomorrow's game. Tomorrow they're playing the Hawks and the Atlanta Conference. Tonight it's against the team that they are jockeying for position for the playoff stuff against Houston. So I'm curious to see what the Lakers do. I would think that maybe somebody rests tomorrow. Maybe they prioritize tonight. But also we've seen Anthony Davis up to his old ways of going off to the locker room. Coming back, though, like a warrior coming back. And he's got that reputation. But this year he has been spectacular and he's been healthy. But just really curious what the Lakers do tonight as well. You got a read on that, Squirrel, or just general thoughts as far as the slate before we do the old game by game?
Yeah, actually, I hadn't really thought about that. But it's a good point. It's just actually checking to see if either of the games is like one of the TNT games, like either tonight or tomorrow or whatever. But it's not. Like, so that kind of does open the possibility that we'll see some like shenanigans from the Lakers. I do think last time we did the show together, I was saying like, yeah, Luke is like dying, and he then went out and put up 100 DraftKings. So
imagine if he was healthy.
But exactly. Both are true. Both are actually true. He is hurt.
Yeah. You can tell he's hurting. Go ahead, Squirrel.
Yeah, there's a lot of really good spend ups. Like Jokic is on the slate. We've kind of been forgetting about Jokic. A lot of good players. Like Wembanyama is like one of the highlights. I think he's going to get a ton of ownership. But like on DraftKings, like we've got Giannis and Jokic, so places to spend up that I'll spend up for there. Some good games with high totals. So yeah, we should get into the game by game.
Yeah, it appears Wemby's minutes limit is mostly off. Like he's going to play about 30 and 30 minutes versus your Wizards. Looks incredible. Looks really, really tasty. Will, you got anything to add before we do the old game by game deal?
No, let's just get into it. I think all my thoughts will come out as we progress through.
All right. New York, the aforementioned Knicks, they are hurting, taking on the Hornets. Randall's going to be out for a bit, several weeks. Not playing basketball tonight versus the Hornets. 221 is the total. Despite hurting, they are still 10-point favorites versus the Hornets because the Hornets are terrible. LaMelo Ball is officially questionable with his ankle, doing weird things with his minutes the other night. The Hornets, man, they're such a horrible organization. I don't mean to pile on here, Will, especially with you on here, but killing the development of some of their players too. Brandon Miller in foul trouble. They got to throw him in foul trouble jail, and the game blows out. They don't let him play at all. Just what are you doing? Why? I don't know if you watched that a couple of games ago, but that was super tilting for me. It just doesn't make any. Do you know what I'm talking about? It doesn't make. What are they doing? Like what? And God forbid he plays in garbage time. Like just let the dude play.
We're thanking for Caleb Williams.
Who is the guy? Is there one guy in college this year that people are thanking for? I don't know. Is there one definitive consensus or no?
Nah, it's
kind of all. Draft.
What's that, Squirrel?
It's supposed to be a bad draft.
Yeah. So it's just a bunch of dudes. All right, so LaMelo is officially questionable. Ntilikina is questionable. Kyle Lowry is not going to sniff 1 minute for the Hornets. They're going to try and trade him. Good luck. And as far as New York, like we said, Randall's out. Evan Fournier probably never plays another minute for New York as well. They're probably going to try to get rid of him in some capacity. And Mitrov is still out. I'll throw it to you, Willow. You seemed excited to talk about New York taking on your Hornets.
Yeah, give me Brunson, give me Hart, give me OG. Those are my top three. I will say in terms of let's go with the backup plans, I do like Precious and I do like Quentin Grimes. And Miles McBride. Like it probably more so Quentin Grimes than Precious. I mean Quentin Grimes than Miles McBride. I do think Miles McBride has an outside shot to play minutes tonight if this game gets out of hand, and I do mean that sincerely. This team is so bad, but Brunson, OG, and Hart are my top three. If I had to rank them personally, for me it's OG, Brunson, Hart. And then off the bench, Precious and Quentin Grimes. But that's kind of what I like from the Knicks.
So, Squirrel, 37% is our current ownership number on Quentin Grimes on DraftKings. 3.7K, 26 minutes, 24 DK fantasy points. Is that bad chalk, Quentin Grimes? That feels a little shaky. I know it's the Hornets. I know he's cheap. I know he's got to play a fair bit. But, man, do we want 34% Quentin Grimes is what I'm asking.
I'm probably going to end up booming on that, but it doesn't feel great. But, it's a pretty good matchup against Charlotte. If you take like Julius Randle off the court, along with like Emmanuel Quickly, RJ Barrett, top usage increase goes to Quentin Grimes. Top like DK point per minute increase goes to Quentin Grimes. Dante DiVincenzo is right behind him. And it's just like, it's like multi-position eligibility. He's going to like show up in my DraftKings lineup. So he's 3,700 and shooting guard, small forward. Like he's going to be that guy that just fits in and lets you like spend up. Been decent the last couple of games. I think it's like one of those things where Quentin Grimes is probably not going to win you a tournament, right? It's like, but Quentin Grimes can put up a decent game. So, it gives you, money to spend up and hopefully that money wins you a tournament. I
can run it. Do you happen to have it in front of you? I see Grimes in the season, 0.67 fantasy points per minute, around 15% usage. What changes here? How distinct is that bump up? You happen to have it in front of you by chance?
Yeah. So kicking off, actually Evan Fournier, Emmanuel Quickly, RJ Barrett, Julius Randle off the board. 8.9% usage increase for Grimes.
Okay.
14.6 DraftKings points per 36 minutes increase, which is a pretty big.
How many minutes is that sample?
That's good. 158. So not huge, but not tiny.
Okay. How about the rest of New York? Like, you want Brunson, ideally, if salary is not a thing. We do live in the world of a salary cap. How much are you prioritizing Brunson on this slate?
I'm not doing a ton of Brunson. I'm a little bit worried about this game getting out of hand. I'm seeing LaMelo out from RotoGrinders daily fantasy sports advice. So that may be was already a 9.5 point spread. I'd rather stick with the value guys, I think, than paying up for Brunson. But I mean, he's not a terrible play, but LaMelo out. I was actually waiting for the LaMelo news to decide how much I like Jalen Brunson. Sorry, Chief, did I?
We have an if then, by the way, set up for if LaMelo is out, so that's convenient. 2 positive DK values, still no positive FanDuel values, which is kind of interesting, just how the prices work. Richards, the aforementioned Nick Richards, 31 DK points as a median projection, 32 minutes, a slight DK value. Brandon Miller, also a slight DK value. You can play some Miles Bridges, sure. Washington, 32 minutes. Ish Smith getting 30 minutes. Ntilikina is available for what it's worth, and he's going to get some run. I think they kind of have to play him some, but I don't think you want to play him. Talk about your Hornets here, Will, with the absence of Ball.
Oh, God. I don't know if I'm going to watch this game tonight. Let me just say
you don't have to.
Well, I try to. It sucks away your fandom when they're this bad. Gosh, just at any rate, I do think Ish Smith is probably not going to get ownership. The last game, Ish Smith had a weird game, guys. Played 30 minutes, took 5 shots, 12 assists. Just such a weird game. I actually think he's okay if the game is relatively close. In my head, I was thinking, okay, they'll give Nick Smith some minutes now. They seem to just not be committed to playing him big minutes. The guys that are going to play are Richards, Bridges, Miller, and Martin for sure. Those guys will play their 30-ish minutes as long as the game's not blatantly out of hand. I do still think we can go back to Brandon Miller. He does have upside. So while I'm not thrilled about the progress of the team as a fan, from a DFS perspective, if Miller gets 35 minutes, he should play well enough at that price tag to hit some stealing, as we've seen already. If I had to rank the Hornets tonight for me, just in terms of price, it's probably Miller, Richards, Bridges, and then in terms of the value guys, Martin, Ish Smith, PJ Washington. Those would be my personal rankings, but it's so frustrating to deal with this team.
What are you doing?
Sorry, why don't you play Nick Smith more?
That was my question.
That's what I'm saying. It's so bad.
Yeah.
I don't understand this. I don't know. I just throw my hands up every day. I'm we're losing by 15. Why isn't he playing? And then they put him in for 10 minutes again. I just say, you know what, forget it. What are we doing?
Maybe they're trying to trade Ish Smith. I don't know.
Yeah.
Trade deadline's in about 10 days. That was me and Squirrel we're right in line. I was thinking the same thing. And not that is there a GM out there saying, "Ooh, Ish Smith, never heard of it. Ooh, look at this guy. We could use him as our backup point." They know who Ish Smith is at this point, right? I just never understand the whole showcasing thing, especially for a guy like Ish Smith. It's we get it. We know who this person is. But maybe that's what's going on here. 10 days away. I think it's next Thursday, I want to say, is the trade deadline. So maybe that's what's happening. It would be insane if they keep him and play him over Nick Smith. What are you doing? Unless the coach thinks he gets an extra win or two out of it and he's desperate to so he doesn't get fired. I don't know what the situation. I feel like he's been there for a while, right? Has he been there a while there, Chief, the coach for Charlotte?
Coach
I'm losing
Clifford
his name.
got fired, went to Orlando, fired from Orlando, and then rehired.
I forgot that all happened.
Stuff I'm talking about right here.
That's right. That's why I feel like he's been there forever. I forgot when he was deported to Orlando. Oh man, that is yeah. Okay. So yeah, it's hard to project minutes, but you would think at some point they'd say, "What are we doing? Let's play these guys more." And like Black like barely gets any minutes either. I'm like, I don't know if he's good or not, but like find out. What else are you doing? All right. Scroll, anything else here? Anything you want to add? Did you give your thoughts as far as the updated Charlotte stuff?
The Ntilikina thing is actually throws a little bit of a guys. Yeah, I was thinking like Ish Smith or Nick Smith might be an interesting like early pivot off of like the Memphis guys, but then like you're gonna see Ntilikina play like 36 minutes and get like 4 DK games.
I think we're projecting 10 minutes for Ntilikina.
Yeah.
It's just it's just tough. By the way, if you have a lineup HQ, give it a refresh. They're already on top of it as far as the Charlotte stuff. We're giving 37 minutes to Bridges. Like, so if you want to run back, it certainly is expensive. Miller at at 35 minutes for Brandon Miller. Richards 32. I think he's the one that's most popular as far as the optimals I just ran. Washington 32, Ish 30. Which, a math play, it seems fine, but man, it doesn't make sense. Okay, let's move on. The other game at 7 o'clock, 2 7 o'clock games, right? I believe it's 2. Yes. Clippers versus Cleveland. We have the Cavs are 1 point dogs here at home versus the Clippers. 226 is the total. Clippers, one of the best teams in basketball now. Shout out to them. They were getting made fun of with the whole Harden thing, but they kind of figured it out there. We're expecting Evan Mobley back tonight, which is sort of beating his timeline. So he had that knee. He was out for a while. Donovan Mitchell is officially probable with his groin. He did tweet out the Spider thing. What does he say? Oh, geez. What is this tweet he always says? Like, let's play or let's get it on, or he's got a tagline. He's playing. He's going to be playing tonight. We know Tristan Thompson still suspended. Zubac, the only person injured for the Clippers tonight. Squirrel, I'll throw it to you. Clippers, Cavs. What do you got?
Not a lot. Not a game I'm getting a lot of. If I'm taking one guy from this game, it's probably Donovan Mitchell. And I think we've got him projected like 8% ownership. I want to be maybe more in the 12 to 15% range. But even like he's not really somebody I'm interested in playing in single entry, most likely. And probably the only guy that I'm interested from in this game. Like he getting 9,700. That's a pretty good price. Like he's been putting up some 50-point DK games. So if he has kind of an outstanding game, then he can get there. He's probably not going to see a ton of ownership. In terms of like running it back from the Clipper side, maybe Kawhi or Mason Plumlee, but that's probably that would be a pairing with Mitchell, and I'm hoping the game goes like double overtime. But it's one of those games that even like everybody's like so appropriately priced that even if it goes overtime, it maybe doesn't get there.
Jared Allen, the most popular play according to our projections at 13%. I think he's hurt a little bit by the arrival of Mobley. Mobley, by the way, expected to play 20 to 24 minutes, so he's unrosterable. But he also takes away, I think, just enough of the ceiling for Allen where he's not a priority. Certainly you can play him. I agree with your thoughts as far as Mitchell. He's fine. But as far as power ranking stars, he's probably not my favorite. Paul George on a bit of a minutes limit too. We're giving him 30, so like just enough where he's mucking it up for others and also not rosterable as well. I don't really like this game. Will?
Yep, don't like this game at all. I'm definitely not playing Jared Allen today. I will happily let the field play 40%. Jared Allen, I'm exaggerating. Obviously, it's 11-6, but whatever Jared Allen shares are out there, please have them. I do think these few minutes from Evan Mobley, even those 24 minutes, will hurt Allen some now. I don't think they're going to overlap as much as usual because of the minutes limit for Mobley. But how many times have we seen these teams say, oh, yeah, he's going to play 20 to 24 minutes, and then he plays 34 minutes. I'm going to give him 27 minutes. I'm probably wrong. Cleveland, hopefully they'll be honest with us and do the right thing here. But I do think it hurts Allen a great deal. So I'm just kind of out on this game in general. If this was a smaller slate, I may have considered Kawhi a little bit more. But in general, I don't think I'm going to need Kawhi or anyone from this game to take down a GPP. And, of course, I'm saying that, and one of these guys is going for 60 tonight, and I already know that. But I'm still willing to fade them.
Oh, our poll is up in the chat. We were talking about this pre-show. Let us know. Do you use Spotify, Apple Music? We introduced Apple Music to the conversation, or Pandora, or other. When you're like streaming music, streaming podcasts, things of that sort. We were having a conversation about that pre-show. By the way, same team, different player, but we have seen Cleveland when Garland came back. Like Garland came back and played like 34 minutes like right away. I think it was a different injury too. I kind of believe they're going to keep him at like 24. So I'm not rostering him. as far as talking about Mobley coming back tonight. I sort of believe them, Will. Maybe I'm being stupid, but I kind of believe he's not going to get fully pushed tonight. All right, next game is the Pelicans and Boston. 236.5 is the total. Celtics about a 9-point favorite here. It is the front half of a back-to-back for Boston. By the way, should worth noting, other front half of the back-to-back on the slate: Boston, Utah, the Lakers, and New York. The back half of a back-to-back: Phoenix, Memphis, the Thunder, the Magic, Blazers, and Sixers. But like those don't matter so much. Well, Sixers are in the front half, Blazers in the back half. But again, that's not on either slate. New Orleans is fully healthy. We saw what Murphy was just a scratch, not a scratch, but just DMPCD last time out when New Orleans is fully healthy. That doesn't mean that's going to happen tonight, but that was interesting to note. Boston on the front half of back-to-back, they tend to do goofy things by just like giving players imaginary injuries. Porzingis actually has a legit injury. He's got a question with his ankle. Horford's got a neck. I imagine, they're going to do like one place tonight, one place tomorrow, that kind of thing. We'll see. Stay tuned. Luke Cornett has a hamstring. He's doubtful for what it's worth. I will let Squirrel go ahead and start us off. Oh, other thing I should note as far as this game is we've seen, I think, 3 games in a row now. Larry Nance has started the second half for Jonas Valanciunas, as Coach Willie Green has talked about being in, I think, evaluation mode. I can't remember the term he used, but they keep starting Larry Nance in the second half, which I think is kind of interesting. And I may have some overs on Larry Nance out in the prop streets. But all right, Squirrel, what do you got? New Orleans and the Celtics.
Yeah, it's another game I don't love. I think the Larry Nance is somewhere he can go. He's still 3,900, and he does sometimes like have kind of monster games, even in limited minutes. Like he can play 19 minutes, and sometimes he'll put up 17, 18 DraftKings points. Sometimes it's like 30 something. So he's definitely worth taking some shots on in tournaments. We're getting a little bit of a discount on Jason Tatum, especially on DraftKings. So I think we're showing him at like 13%, and that seems about right. He's another guy kind of similar to Donovan Mitchell, where my multi-entry set, I want to make sure I'm hitting that ownership mark or a little bit above, but not really a primary piece or anything like that.
Will?
Yeah, for me, man, I actually like this game in general, probably a little bit more than the field. I think. Am I clear to talk about both sides, Dean?
Yeah, dude, go for it, man. It's all yours.
Yeah, I like both sides of this game. I think CJ McCollum at 7K, Brandon Ingram at 75, Zion at 73. I'm expecting this to be a fairly competitive game, and so for me, when I'm getting studs, studs might be a stretch for McCollum, Ingram, and Zion, but I do think they're reasonably priced on DraftKings. I like them because I do think this game will be competitive. I also really like Jason Tatum today at 9,200. I think he's a touch too cheap. I know in a general sense, he's probably only going to end up somewhere between 40 and 45 fantasy points on a night-to-night basis. But I do think this game comes across as a little bit more competitive than what meets the eye. So, I'm willing to go with some skinny stacks. McCollum, Tatum, Ingram, Tatum, Zion, Tatum. I do think Jaylen Brown's, a bit more affordable than he has been. Those two guys I really like. And just the game environment in general, I think this game is way closer. If you're on the books, I'd absolutely go and get New Orleans at +9 here. I think they cover that easily.
As predicted, one of Porzingis is going to sit. One of Porzingis and Horford's going to sit. One's going to play. Horford's going to play. Porzingis is going to sit. And my guess is that flips tomorrow, but who knows? Who cares about tomorrow? It's DFS. We care about
That's okay. That helped me love Tatum and Brown even more today. It's great. It's fantastic.
Tatum gets a bump of his current projection. It's like 50 DK points. Our if then has 52.64 DK points, so he gets a bit of a bump here, a couple points in his projection. 37 minutes healthy, so he gets a little more usage with the absence of Porzingis. He becomes a little bit better. You were talking about what 13-14% Squirrel when it comes to Tatum. I think he's going to get more than that now, right? Once everything adjusts, is that fair to say?
Yeah, probably a little bit more. I think it does boost him a little bit. So it makes the game probably a little bit more interesting. Kind of expected one of the Horford or Porzingis to play and the other to sit, and that's what we're getting. They like Jason Tatum's a player that can obviously just explode for a big game. So you want to have some of them, so when that happens, maybe you even want to try to be a little bit over the field. Maybe you're sacrificing some Luka or something on DraftKings, to get to a little bit more Jason Tatum. But yeah, it's still not a game that like is my primary target or anything like that.
You got anything else here, Will? Does that change a ton for you as far as I know you sort of touched on it, but
well, I was going to have plenty of Tatum tonight anyway. Just it's really more of a price play, like getting him down to 9,200. In once again, this is me thinking it's going to be a competitive game. I really like the price on him. I got a hot take coming up later, but I think I'll live and die on this island by myself.
By the way, early results on our question here in the chat. Spotify, Apple Music, or Pandora. Spotify, Apple Music, 26% each. Pandora, distant third at 9%. Sorry, Will. That's what inspired the conversation. But 38% other. What's other? What else? What are people using? Like YouTube? Like what are they listening to?
YouTube Music is another one.
Okay.
Yeah, that's another one.
Let us know.
They have Google Music as well. They
could
be using that.
All right. All right. Curious what people are into. They're asking you about props there in the chat. You still want Tatum under 8.5 with Zinger being out?
I am.
Okay. Yep. Let's move on. Let's move on from Boston and New Orleans. We'll get updates when it comes to our ownership stuff as well. I'm curious where Tatum is going to land in the projection. Utah. I forgot Utah was in the slate. Utah is taking on Brooklyn. 236.5 is a total. It's high and it's tight, right? Just a 1-point favorite. Utah is. We're getting Ben Simmons back. Allegedly, he's expected to play tonight with his back. Cam Johnson should be good to go as well. He's not in the injury report. DFS is out. That's Dorian Finney-Smith. He's got an ankle, so no basketball for him. And, of course, Daron Sharp. He's out. He's been out for a while. And Utah is a fully healthy team, and they're fully annoying. They play a bunch of dudes like 27 minutes, give or take. Yeah, that's the problem with Utah, right, Will? Like, I don't really know what to do with them.
Some of them. Like they're doing it like, Brooklyn has done in the past, and some of these other teams. Like some of them are getting 30-ish minutes, and then the rest are getting equipped. Like if you haven't been looking, Colin Sexton is actually one of the stable pieces on this team now. Him and Lauri Markkanen are pretty safe, Dean. And John Collins has now hit that realm where if they're going to give him 30 to 32 minutes, he's becoming more safe. Jordan Clarkson is kind of the odd man out, if you will, but that's the interesting part about it. Like Sexton, Markkanen, and Collins feel okay to me. I just don't like this game against Brooklyn, but I'm probably okay with more Brooklyn today than I am Utah. But yeah, those three guys are getting minutes.
Yeah, talk about the Brooklyn pieces you like. We're looking at most popular, at least, again, we're going to get an update this as far as others ownership stuff, but Bridges still seems a tick too cheap here at 7.2K on DK. He's got some versatility, shooting guard and small forward. You can play him in multiple spots, obviously. 19% ownership for him. Claxton, 6'9", which is a pretty nice, reasonable price here. 18% ownership. Cam Thomas, like, you catch him on the right night, he can put 30 points in that bucket. He kind of sort of has to because that's what he does. If he's not scoring, his floor is rough. Yeah, talk about Brooklyn before we throw it to a squirrel.
Yeah, and I did write up, a little bit about, a couple guys from Brooklyn tonight, but I do like Nick Claxton. He's one of my favorite crossover plays in terms of cash or tournaments. Like I think he fits the bill perfectly for both, priced appropriately for cash. And at 6,900, it still has enough upside to help us take down tournaments. So he's one of my favorites. And if you look at the ownership, he's, a lot of people's favorites. He's going to be the field's favorite. But I also do like Mikal Bridges. Utah, if you're not paying attention, like this team is in the tops of the league in pace, top 10 in pace. And then on the back half, in terms of defensive efficiency, they're, on the back half of the league, I think 21st, if I'm not mistaken, in terms of defensive efficiency. So, when I see things like that, they're going to push Brooklyn a touch. So I like those couple extra possessions that Brooklyn may get. And so, Mikal Bridges, Claxton. I don't hate Cam Johnson. I think earlier this morning we had Cam projected for, I think 30-ish minutes or 32 minutes. Got him down to 28. I still think that's okay. I trust him with Dorian Finney-Smith out. I do think Ben Simmons coming back is going to help maybe some of these rotation guards like Dinwiddie and Dennis Smith Jr. and so forth and so on. But I don't think Bridges, Johnson, and Claxton will be affected here.
We're giving just 16 minutes to Simmons. Obviously, he's been gone for a while. Maybe he just plays 16 minutes behind Claxton. We're giving Claxton 33. That seems like a possible route. To your point, by the way, as far as the pace on the season, Utah, 10th fastest team in pace. Last 15 games, first, number one in pace. So they've been playing much faster of late. Squirrel, jump in here.
Yeah, I don't really love the Utah side because it's not a good matchup for Utah, but it's a good matchup for Brooklyn. So they're, I think, giving up like the 5th most points per game over the last 8 games, and also give up the 2nd most blocks. So I like Nick Claxton, got like 11.4 rebounds the month of January. He's putting up some big games. He's always adding like steals and blocks. So yeah, I definitely like Nick Claxton is probably my favorite. Probably Cam Thomas after that, then Mikal Bridges. I'm just figuring that the Ben Simmons is not going to have a huge impact here. Everybody's like well priced. All these Brooklyn guys are in like 6,000s. Up to like Mikal Bridges, I guess, is at 7,200. But that's like they're just very well priced in the mid range. Like just getting a bunch of lineups that have 1 or 2 Brooklyn guys, a bunch of like cheap Memphis guys, and then spending up for your favorite studs.
Hey, Scroll, do you think Simmons being back hurts the minutes cap for Claxton? 37, 38, 38 last 3 games, or you think he can still play 37, 38, 38 minutes tonight?
It's hard to say. I don't. We got to see where they play Ben Simmons. It could hurt Claxton. I guess like with Utah, I don't know. Are they going to play like Ben Simmons at center?
Versus Kessler, like that. That's kind of how they would match up, right? Yeah. O'Neal could play some center, like little revenge for Royce O'Neal. I see Brian in chat asking if Royce O'Neal is as vengeful as Harris. Nobody is as vengeful as Harrison Barnes. We've learned that. But
Harry Barnes will get some unders hammered today for what it's worth.
Yeah. I mean, he can't keep getting away with it, right, Harry Barnes? But maybe he's a showcase player.
I'm hopping on after all of these big performances. See, some people have been taking the unders the whole way. I'm like 3 in a row. This man had 9 fantasy points, 12, 16, 14, and all of a sudden he went up like 40, 30. Nah. I'm not playing that game. Hammering some unders today. Sorry, Squirrel. Please continue. Don't let me derail the show with prop talk.
No. I mean, that's pretty much my take on Brooklyn, Utah. I like the Brooklyn side. I think it's getting a little bit more Brooklyn on DraftKings as well. Like these guys everybody's like a few $100 too cheap on DraftKings. FanDuel, still getting some Brooklyn guys, but not as much.
We got Butto Jenkins, our guy Butto Jenkins, trolling us in the chat saying his sneaky low on play tonight will be Paul Reed. You guys are welcome. Well, Paul Reed is playing, probably starting tonight versus the Blazers, but again, that is not on the main slate. That's not on DraftKings slate. That's not on FanDuel slate. They both cut it off. He would have been the most popular play, I presume, one of the most popular players in the slate with the absence of Embiid. But showdown stuff. There you go. Captain Paul Reed. I'm sure nobody has considered that. All right, let's move on to the next game. Again, 11 games. 11 games on DK, 10 games on FanDuel. I think we have another one here, which is kind of a catch-me-up game. You guys tell me otherwise. 230 is the total. Phoenix is in Miami, taking on my Miami Heat. The Heat are 3-point favorites. Phoenix on the back half of back-to-back. As far as injuries, these teams are mostly healthy. Miami has been as healthy they've been all season long. Nobody on the report. Drew Smith doesn't count. Phoenix does have Yusuf Nurkic. He's got that thumb, so he's questionable. Bull also is out. But Will, is this a catch-me-up game, or is this something you want to talk about here as far as Phoenix and the Heat?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm not thrilled about this game at all. If I was going to play anyone from Phoenix, I'd just put Durant, Beal, and Booker in a group and just say, 0 to 1 and leave it at that. Pretty much the same thing for Miami. Miami's just got a lot of mouths to feed right now. You might not feel like it until you look at this roster and go, Tyler Hero, well, he wants the ball, he wants to shoot. Terry Rozier, he wants the ball, he wants to shoot. Jimmy Butler, he wants the ball, doesn't necessarily have to shoot, but the ball will be in his hands. Haywood Highsmith is the odd man out. We weren't going to probably play him anyway. Bam Adebayo is probably the one guy I would play because I don't feel like these other guards could get in the way of his production. Like he could still rebound and assist his way to some upside and get some steals and blocks. Jaime Jaquez coming off the bench, Duncan Robinson coming off the bench, Kevin Love coming off the bench, Caleb Martin, Josh Richardson. If these guys play, just too many mouths on Miami for me right now. I can't get involved with this team.
I guess we can at least acknowledge what Devin Booker is doing, just actual points in the bucket. And speaking of usage, speaking of taking shots, 44% usage last game against Orlando, a tough matchup, 44 points in the bucket, 50% usage against the Pacers, which is an outrageous number, 62 points in the bucket before that. This is all consecutive. 46 points, 36% usage. That's most impressive. And he had a couple games before that where he's in the teens or the 20s. I think Durant went off in those games. So like one of those two has gone off in like 6 or 7 consecutive games. Because before that, he put 52 up against New Orleans. 52 in the bucket. So Squirrel, are we going to just continue on this path and like one of Booker or Durant? I would also say like you probably make a rule. You don't get both these guys in a lineup. Right? I don't know if you're doing that, but that makes sense to me at least. If you're, just play one or the other. Booker, Durant, the Heat, it's just, I can't play anybody in Miami. Prices need to adjust a little bit. Rozier, somebody needs to be hurt. But I have no interest in Miami. You tell me otherwise.
I actually have some interest in Miami a little bit.
Okay.
And it's just Tyler Hero at 1% ownership at only 6,700 on DraftKings specifically. He's going to be playing his full minutes if he hits the 3-pointers and has a big game. Like at 6,700, his price is down a lot. It's down like 1,500 in about 2 weeks. So yeah, I don't know. Like I'm not going to go crazy, but like the idea, I like the idea of I'm playing 10% Tyler Hero that 10 times the field or at least 10 times his projected ownership. I'll probably be owned a little bit more. That's like my primary interest in this game. Devin Booker is a little bit tempting. Like just looking at the box score, he's been going berserk. I just for the same like position and same price, I like Donovan Mitchell a little bit more. But again, like at 1.7% ownership, we'll probably get over that on like game log watching. But I'll probably get over that on game log watching too. So yeah, maybe like 5% Devin Booker and 10% Tyler Hero.
But to your Hero point, we've seen a boost in his potential assists since Rozier has come back or joined the team. I don't know if that's real or not, but the samples are small, but it might be real. So maybe there's some sneaky upside as far as assists for Hero as well. But okay, let's talk about. I guess we got to do it. We got to talk about Memphis. Memphis is one of the big teams here on the slate. I mentioned several people in chat. What's up, chat? Thanks for hanging out. But while you're clicking on our poll question, if you like Spotify, Apple, Pandora, something else, you've proven that you can, hit buttons. You can click things. Click on that hit the like button, subscribe, turn on those notifications so you know we go live. Let's talk about the Grizz, the Memphis Grizzlies. They're at home versus the Kings. So I guess they have 9 bodies now. They're supposed to have like 8 if you include Vince Williams. Am I going to run down all the guys that are not playing basketball? It's going to take a while for Memphis, but yeah, if you're not aware, if you're just joining the show, John Carnchar, Zaire Williams, I think they're officially doubtful, but like highly unlikely to play. Kennard, of course, is out. Bain is out. Laravia, Smart, Rose, Clark, Ja. Looks like we're looking at 8, possibly 9. I don't know if this Matt Hurt character is available for the game. Did you get anything on that? Is he going to be playing tonight? They allegedly are signing him. Not sure if he's going to have a uniform and be in the building. And again, the other person, Vince Williams, is questionable. And if he plays, he would play 35 minutes or so and start and be one of the top plays on Memphis. Jaren Jackson Jr., Triple J. He's really got to stay out of foul trouble tonight because they need him just to be on the court, if nothing else. But yeah, there's a lot of cheap value here. Squirrel, how do you want to attack Memphis as things stand right now? We don't have all the information, but we have a fair bit of it so far.
Yeah, I'm going to end up playing a bunch of Memphis guys, especially on DraftKings. Like the prices are just too good. Like Scottie Pippen Jr. I think he's going to be one of the higher owned players on Slate, and I'm going to be there too. Like he's looked really good in the games that he's played. I don't mind him going up against De'Aaron Fox. So yeah, I think it's a place we're going to get a lot of value. Like I'm probably going to stick more to the cheaper guys than to like playing Jaren Jackson. But yeah, I And I agree. Actually, I don't love Gilliard. He just like doesn't put up DK points even when he gets the minutes. So we'll see who's in the starting lineup. Like my power ranking, I guess, is probably Scottie Pippen first, just for the price, and then probably like Santi Aldama, David Roddy, Gregory Jackson. I mean, got to see if Vince Williams is in. I'm kind of assuming Vince Williams is going to be in, but then definitely have to be doing like some late swapping here because I'm probably going to end up with a good amount of Vince Williams. And then if he's out, it really boosts all the other guys.
You got any rules, top of the head? How many Grizzlies is too many Grizzlies? It might matter, like if you're capping it at like 3 or 4, maybe like if you're playing Triple J. I know you talk about playing the cheapies more, prioritizing the cheapies more, but I like to think of it sometimes in salary. If you can get like 4 really, really cheap Grizzlies, maybe that's something I'm willing to do. Is this something you've considered? Most Grizzlies are willing to play in a lineup.
Yeah, I think I'd go 4. So like 4 on FanDuel is the maximum. I probably don't want to play 5 on DraftKings unless I've got like a king in that lineup. Yeah, they're all just so cheap, and this is this situation. Like sometimes we've seen it like with the Mavericks this year, where it's like, oh, Kyrie and Luka are out, but they have like 5 other guys that can come in, like AJ Lawson and OSP or whatever, and like can come in and play minutes, right? And so like you see a bunch of like 20-minute games. This when the team's down to like 7, 8 guys, or 7 healthy bodies, maybe 8 people in uniform. Like, these guys got to play. So Jaren Jackson is probably the one I like least because I think in a blowout he'd be the one that gets pulled. He's also the most susceptible to foul trouble. So like he may not be able to play just by virtue of fouling out. But then everybody else is going to be having to play big minutes. So I'm not going to be shy with my Memphis guys tonight.
I was going to run a court IQ, but like there's so many players. I don't think when I get any information out of it. I was looking at Gilliard though for the season, like 0.69 is his fantasy points per minute, which like you said, that's not nice. 10-11% usage, which is pretty horrific. Scottie Pippen, on the other hand, similar price, 1.06 DK points per minute. The usage at 29%. No, wait, hold on. I was reading Triple J there by accident. 22% for Scottie Pippen, which is still better than Gilliard. We're projecting, for what it's worth, Gilliard, Williams, Roddy, Aldama, and Triple J to start, but there is some fragility to that. We're not even certain if Vince Williams is going to play. I think there's a chance that Scottie Pippen also starts. But, Will, jump in here. Grizzlies, they're also playing an opponent. They're playing the Kings. What do we think of the Kings?
I do like De'Aaron Fox tonight. I know we haven't seen a lot of upside from him consistently recently. I mean, Sabonis and Harrison Barnes in the game have just been teeing off, but I do think this is a spot where these guys could get going early. Now, the question is, do they play at all in the fourth quarter? Top of my head, my answer would be no. I think they get there in 3 quarters. So if I'm playing anyone from the Kings, like I said, I do like Fox at 8,800. Malik Monk is 5,600. Hasn't seen the minutes as much lately, but I wouldn't mind rolling him out there. A guy like Trey Lyles could get there tonight. So I'm playing this team. I'm playing the more of a, the cheaper guys. They go outside of Fox at 88. I don't hate Keegan Murray at 61. I see Yappy's in there saying you don't like Harry Barnes. Listen, I am not playing Harrison Barnes for what it's worth. I am taking unders tonight. I'm hopping on the train now, and hopefully I get it right. From the Memphis side, like I said earlier, I am not playing Jacob Gilliard. If Jacob Gilliard scores 40 points tonight, I throw up my hands and say, hey, it is what it is. But I'm just not going to do it. Especially, man, it's looking like we've got him around 40%. Is that right, Dean? Or are my eyes deceiving me? Is that close to 40% on Jacob Gilliard?
We have projections for ownership about 40 minutes ago. So this stuff is it's fluid, right? But as of 40 minutes ago, Scottie Pippen at 47%, 28% for Gilliard. So hit the old refresh button on HQ.
All right, yeah. Let me
Roddy 35, by the way. Roddy's second most popular according to our projections.
But here's the thing, and I do have a theory about this. I do have a theory about this. When you have these teams that have a lack of bodies, you have to realize, like, they're going to get their shot from the starters. The starters are going to be in their normal rotation. And guess what Memphis has to do? They have to keep playing the cheap guys. They don't have a rotation, right? They don't have anyone to sub in frequently like the pattern of the other team. So, while, especially if Vince Williams is out, while David Roddy and Scottie Pippen Jr. and G.G. Jackson may be fringe plays on a normal slate, on this slate when they have 8 bodies, guess what, Dean? They're going to get 20 minutes against the starters and 15 minutes against the bench. And those 15 minutes might be all we need for them to hit significant upside. They're going to be loose. They're going to be warm. And so I know that's not the statistical analysis, but that's the real life happening of what happens in these games. And sometimes this is how these teams with no bodies, Dean, keep it close somehow. They play the starters, the bench gets subbed in, they're down 15, they get it down to 7 or 8, the starters come back in, they run it up to 20. By the end of the game, they've gotten it back down to 11. Like, it's just how it works. So I like these cheap guys. Scottie Pippen, I think, is good chalk. I think G.G. Jackson is good chalk or wherever he is. I do think David Roddy is good chalk. Those guys are going to have to play. I am not playing Jacob Gilyard. And I'm not playing Jaren Jackson.
Daryl in chat says, can Gilyard get me 50? No, I don't think so, but he doesn't have to. Like, I don't think he can get you 50. You really have to tell a story, but he doesn't have to get 50.
Well listen, if he did, though, so here's what I think Mr. George is doing. I could be wrong. If you load it up on the stuff, like, you do have enough room tonight to play like all studs and all scrubs. Like, there's enough to do it. Like, you can essentially play Gilyard, play Pippen, play GG, play McBride, play Hart, and then go and play 2 or 3 studs. Like, if Luka gets, hypothetically, Luka gets 100, Jokic gets 80, Giannis gets 75, and then you've got 3K guys putting up 35, 40. Like, you're probably going to take a tournament down. Like, that's how it's going to work. I just don't think Gilyard's going to do it. But I digress. I'll hand it back over to the most brilliant tournament mind in DFS history, Squirrel Patrol.
So I ran the numbers with no Derrick Rose, Desmond Bain, John Morant, John Contra, Kenny Lofton, Luke Kennard, Marcus Smart, or Zaire Williams on the court. In 9 minutes, G.G. Jackson is averaging 68 DraftKings points per 36 minutes. 68. Jaren Jackson.
The lock button.
Let me see. And Jacob Gilyard in 9 minutes, 45 DraftKings points per 36 minutes.
Oh, boy. Well, I sign me up for Gigi and Scottie Pippen. I'm still hitting the X button on Gilyard.
Scroll, what's your take on the
45
Kings?
DK points as well. So he's right there with Gilyard.
Yeah.
Scroll, Kings run backs. What do you got?
I got nothing. There's no – I don't like the Kings at all here. I just – I think you might see 28 minutes from the starters. And then, then they don't need to come back. If I have to take somebody, probably Kevin Herter.
It's a 10-point line, guys. Like, they probably win this game, the Kings, right? But you just think they're going to blow them out, and that's that, Squirrel? Like, the Kings are not known for, like, always living up to their expectations.
Yeah.
On the road.
Dean, come on now. Like, this team is bad.
I understand. I'm not sitting here and telling you that this Memphis team is good. I know that. I know they're not good, but weird things happen all the time in the NBA.
Listen. You asked me for my opinion. I'm just giving you my opinion. We can weasel our way out of anything with these teams, but this team is not set up to be anywhere near Sacramento today.
They've won 3 of their last 4 games. In their last game, they lost to Indiana by 6 points. They beat Orlando, they beat Miami, they beat Toronto. Like, I understand they're a little bit more depleted, but they've been depleted for a while. This isn't new. Ja didn't just leave them yesterday. I don't know. I just don't think it's like a lock that Sacramento just wallops them. Zach Collins, by the way, is out tonight. Hey, did you guys see my tweet? You know how much it costs to go to get this game ticket-wise? You want to buy a ticket? Forget the fees. Don't give me that. No, don't play that. But just the actual face value. Ticket to go to Memphis at home versus the Kings. What do you think, Squirrel? How much does it cost? Cheapest ticket.
What area am I sitting in?
Yeah, where am I sitting?
could move down when the ushers aren't paying attention. It's all right.
I'm going $8.
Okay, you want to price this right? Will. What do you got?
I'm going to go $3 as a tribute to my old Charlotte Bobcats tickets.
Shout out Emeka Okafor. $2. You can get in this game for $2. $2.
The Bobcats are officially not the worst team in history. Oh, I remember those $3 tickets. My gosh.
Many, many years ago, I went to a Charlotte Bobcats game. I don't remember a lot of it, but yeah. All right, let's move on. Certainly, that game is very important, and we're going to want to pay attention to Vince Williams because if he's out, they're going to pop even more. The Grizzlies are going to pop ridiculously, and they may only have a 7-man rotation. Again, pay attention. 8:00 game. Squirrels, Wizards are in San Antonio. 241. The Wizards are 4-point dogs here. The battle of the Jones brothers. A couple guys that are potentially on the block with Kuzma. Tyus Jones as well, who might get moved. We shall see. The absence of Zach Collins, the straight backup for Wembanyama. I don't know if that increases his minutes a lot, but like he's probably going to get 30 minutes as is versus the Wizards. We've documented all the time how terrible they are. Well, period. How terrible they are specifically when it comes to rebounds or allowing rebounds. They're horrific that as well. How do we feel about Wemby, Chalk, Squirrel, and picking on your Wizards tonight?
Yeah, I mean, everything's just lining up for Wembanyama. It's a fantastic matchup, right, against the Wizards. Most points per game allowed on the season, most rebounds allowed on the season. They've been a little bit better recently in terms of like those stats, but it's still fair bottom of the league when it comes to those categories. And then Wembanyama has been on the minutes limit. His price has been dropping. He's been going berserk anyway on like a permanent basis. Now his minutes are increasing. It's like that perfect like window. So he'll probably be one of my higher owned players. He's not so expensive. He can't fit in another high price player. So he'll be one of my favorites tonight. I don't know. I just don't know how you get away from it. FanDuel is a little bit more expensive than on DraftKings. But on FanDuel, he gets the extra point for blocks. And so that could be an extra 5-6 points for him. I mean, it's a perfect matchup. The only thing that I'll add is I like Jeremy Sohan as well. So I do think you can take some like Jeremy Sohan and maybe, in some of those lineups, you can even skip Wembanyama. But somebody's going to get there from the Spurs tonight against Washington. And I don't mind Washington runbacks. Look at Kyle Kuzma, particularly on FanDuel. Kuzma's pretty well priced over there. But even, on DraftKings, I can do, Kyle Kuzma, Trey Jones. If you really want a cheap small forward, or shooting guard, you can go with Corey Kispert.
Will, what do you got?
Yeah, man, it's my favorite game on the slate, just in terms of both sides, and I think what you can do to get different in tournaments. So while everyone is kind of loading up on all of the cheap value, I'm willing to sacrifice some of the value to get more pieces from this game in general. So, for instance, as an example, I do have the lock button on Victor Wembanyama for what it's worth tonight. He's going to be in 100% of my lineups. So you can get Victor at 8,900 on DraftKings. On the other side of that game, I don't hate pairing him with Kuzma and Jones, or I'll even take Jordan Poole tonight. Jordan Poole's been a yucky roster this season, but all matchups aren't created equal. We do have a 241.5 total, really tight spread here. So I like this game to just pair with both sides. I don't mind pairing, Wemby with Trey Jones and Jeremy, and then running it back with Tyus, running it back with Kyle Kuzma. Denny might be my odd man out here just in general. And I also really like Daniel Gafford. Now, maybe he has trouble with Wemby. Maybe he doesn't. But at 6K, if he's going to get, close to 30 minutes, we've seen him put up some really nice performances as well. So while I'm not telling you to sacrifice or not play the cheap value, because obviously I'm going to be doing that, I do think this game has a lot of goodness in it, and it's going to go overlooked because of the other cheap pieces in these other games.
Hey, Squirrel, friend of the show, Bobby Gomes, hanging out in chat, says he sat next to Squirrel in Denver, hungover at the live final. Those are pretty good seats. Now, is he saying he was hungover? You were hungover? Who was hungover? And do you recall sitting next to Bobby Gomes watching Denver?
I don't think I was hungover. They were already like giving us free beer though. So like you could go to like the DraftKings like like area beforehand, get like gear and food, and then you like go to your regular seats. So you might have been hungover from like the pre-party in like the DraftKings area of the Denver thing. But yeah, that was a good time. Actually, I wanted to add a wizard. I've got Bilal Koulibaly is facing his former teammate Victor Wembanyama, and just played over 30 minutes, I think, last game. So maybe new coach getting him a little bit more run. So Koulibaly, kind of a cheap like small forward, doesn't take a ton of shots, but especially on FanDuel, he gets a bunch of steals. Then those are 3 points each.
Koulibaly versus former teammate. You got the Jones brothers. You got all the narratives in this game, and of course, high and tight and gross in a game that only DFS players will like. I know Sohan was mentioned, but I think he's my favorite sort of mid-tier guy. That would be my favorite mid-tier player in this game. I saw the chat asking about Avdia. He's fine, but I would prioritize Sohan. Let's move on. We got 4 games left. 4 games left on DK. 3 games left on FanDuel. We got crunch time waiting in the wings. Bobby in chat confirming he was the one that was a little bit too thirsty. Minnesota and OKC, 224 is the total. The 2 top teams in the West, according to standings, they're currently tied. By the way, you can get into this game for $9. You can see the top 2 teams in the Western Conference for $9. Forget the fees, whatever. Ticketmaster, they're going to get you every time. It's not very high, but it's fairly tight, right? OKC is a 2-3 point favorite here as far as who's in and who's out in this game. Pretty clean, right? As far as injury-wise, we're still waiting on. We've kind of seen Mike Conley out for a variety of reasons. He's got a hamstring. He's questionable. OKC is fully clean. Nobody on the injury report of relevance. Minnesota, OKC. Do we like this game?
I do like Ant Edwards, man. Like 8,500 DraftKings. I like the price. I think he's good. Rudy Gobert. Let me just talk about Rudy Gobert tonight at 7,300. He's actually one of my favorite tournament plays on the slate. If there's ever a spot he was going to go 2020, gotta be tonight. Like, it's not a secret. We're not hiding it from anyone. This is public information. The Oklahoma City Thunder are having trouble slowing down opponents rebounding the basketball. Well, Rudy Gobert, this is his MO. He wants to grab those rebounds. And I think this is a spot where he could put up 50. So we're getting really low ownership on him tonight. He's in one of my tournament cores that I've been building along with Wemby. I just think this is a fantastic spot for him and Anthony Edwards. On the other side, I've been doing this all season. I've mostly gotten away with it. I'm just going to play SGA, and that's it. Jalen Williams is okay, don't get me wrong, but I don't feel like I have to play anyone else. If there's one person I play, it is SGA, and that is it. But love Gobert, love Anthony Edwards. Those are 2 really good tournament plays, in my opinion.
We saw Jalen Duren drop, was it a Barbara Walters? Was it a Hugh Downs? So he get a 2020 on him yesterday, close to it. Grabbed the pile of boards there versus OKC. OKC, one of the worst rebounding teams in the league, bottom 3. And this is also 2 of the best defensive teams. Minnesota, number 1, according to defensive rating, and OKC, number 4. Nobody getting more than 5% ownership currently. This is not a game I'm prioritizing. Surely, from it, you're playing large field stuff. Squirrel, what are you doing with Minnesota and the Thunder?
Yeah, actually, I hadn't really thought about playing the Minnesota big guys, but I think that's a great call. Like, Rudy Gobert, 7,300 on DraftKings. Like, kind of sign them up for the double-double bonus right now. They're not going to show up well in projections just because, it's a good defensive teams. Oklahoma City gets killed on glass. So I think they're second most second chance points in the NBA right after the Wizards. I think you can go with Gobert. You can send up even on Carl Anthony Towns. They're both going to be probably 3-4% owned. So if you're running 150 lineups, and if you want to be double or triple that, I think it's a good idea. I think even for single entry, because I think you're going to see not a lot of centers getting played because a lot of people are going to be plugging in Wembanyama at center. Then you go with that'll give really low ownership on Carl Anthony Towns and Rudy Gobert. So I really like that call. Not really interested in running it back from Oklahoma City side though, just because they're playing the best defensive team in the league.
Who's got a lead?
I've got Rudy one right now with Wemby, Claxton, and Gobert for what it's worth. You won't see that too much in tournaments today. I can assure you.
Well, it's funny you say that. Question in chat. You got a Sophie's Choice here. Rudy versus Claxton. You can't play them both. Who do you prefer amongst those two?
If I'm going tournaments, it's Gobert. Claxton's getting way more ownership right now.
Okay, let's move on. Lakers, Houston, 233 is the total. Tough to give analysis currently on this one. We mentioned it before. Lakers are on the front half of a back-to-back. They're coming off a game where they went double overtime. Incredible game versus Golden State. What it was, like the 150s or so, the 140s or so. Just an incredible game. LeBron was outrageous, but he played a pile of minutes. Now, it wasn't yesterday, so it's not the back half of back-to-back, but it's also the front half of the back-to-back. And the game against Houston, if you look at the standings, is more prioritized than the game tomorrow against Atlanta. They're, Atlanta in a different conference. They're jockeying for position with Houston. We have Jabari Smith off the injury report for the Rockets. Tari Eason's been hurt. He's still hurt. As far as the Lakers, again, the two big studs, LeBron, Davis, are currently questionable. Reddish has got that ankle. Vincent is out as well. Doesn't matter. We've seen Jarrett Vanderbilt get a fair bit of run of late. I don't know if he's somebody you want to prioritize, but just noting it. But, what's the plan here, Squirrel? Because the Lakers aren't really known for being forthright. We usually don't get their roster stuff until maybe a half hour or so before the game. 8 o'clock tip-off. I use tip-off in air quotes. Lock, I guess is the better word. But, how we handling these Lakers? Matchup not great versus Houston. Matchup not great for Şengün if Davis plays, but it's better if he doesn't. But just like, what are we doing with this game with the incomplete information?
Yeah, I'm pretty much pretending the game doesn't exist. I'm getting a little bit of Anthony Davis on both sites, and I'm okay with that because it can be turned into like LeBron. So like if Anthony Davis sits or something and LeBron's in, you can turn your Anthony Davis and LeBron. But I'm probably even like, we're not seeing high ownership on this game, and I'm probably still going to be under the field. I'm basically just pretending like it doesn't exist, which is useful because there's some uncertainty there as well.
Mike Conley ruled out. I don't think that matters a ton. You guys think it matters much? Like, Nas been priced up a little bit. You don't really want to play him, and the Memphis value is better. The New York value is better. Is that where you're at? I don't think it doesn't. I don't think it matters to me. I don't care.
Yeah, Alexander Walker is a little bit too expensive, 4,500, but it is an interesting like pivot from the Memphis guy. Like, my guess is these Memphis guys will see super high ownership, and they're like, outscores them more often, than the difference in ownership. It's a little bit interested there. So I might try to get some Nickeil Alexander Walker into my lineups, but he's not as appealing as he was when he was like 3,500 or whatever.
Will, Lakers, Houston, thoughts on Mike Conley being out?
It doesn't really move the needle for me. I still like Gobert and Anthony Edwards, and I would have played them if he was in or out. So that's still about it. In terms of the Lakers, I honestly wouldn't be shocked if one of LeBron or AD sat tonight. I know they're playing Houston. This is a big spot for them. I'm interested to see how they handle it, because that overtime game, they did play a fair amount of minutes. Once again, not yesterday. They played on Saturday. But we'll see. But even still, this game isn't crazy for me. Outside of Fred VanVleet at 7,500, I do really like that price on him. He's a guy that's got 40 to 50 point upside here. Going to be getting the Matador, D'Angelo Russell defense. He's just going to let him go right by and score and assist. So I do like VanVleet. I think it's a great price on him. Going to get overlooked tonight on such a big slate.
You say a fair amount. LeBron played 48 minutes. Davis played 45, and he was also injured in the locker room at some point too. I don't know what's happening here, but it's something to pay attention to. And if you can swap late, if they're both out, whatever. But there is something you want to, you can't just close the laptop necessarily as far as tonight. Two more games, one more game on FanDuel, two more games on DK. The Magic take on the Mavs. Not a very high total, 227.5 is the total, but basically every one of those team points that are projected, 116 for the Mavericks, Luka will have his way in it in one way or the other, either scoring or assisting on it. If his recent play has anything to say about it, they are 5-point favorites versus the Magic. The Magic are playing the back half of a back-to-back. As far as Dallas's injuries, DJJ, Derek Jones Jr. has got a wrist, so he's questionable. Exum's questionable. Powell's got that eye, so he is questionable. We know Kyrie Irving, despite saying he would play 3 games ago, is still out with his thumb. Orlando, there's a possible sitting of Markelle Fultz, who's got an injury maintenance tag.
I'm pretty sure he's sitting.
Okay. If you watched the game yesterday, like me, I was tilted that I lost some Wendell Carter Jr. minutes because Jonathan Isaac was playing too good off the bench and Bo Wagner was playing too good off the bench. That was kind of a bummer for me. But yeah, Magic and the Mavs. Will, what do you got here? Luka, certainly the star of this game.
Yeah, I'm not really going to be too heavily invested in this game. I'm probably almost going with the full fade. I do think Franz's price being so low as his minutes come back up from him coming off that injury. The game is tight. Franz can absolutely get there. We saw him put up some big performances. I don't hate a sprinkle of that, but Paolo at 8,400, I'm willing to take the fade. And then also this game, I'm going full fade on Luka Doncic tonight. I do think the Magic in their pace. I know Lucas is able to issue it to anybody, but I'm going to trust the Magic to keep a few handcuffs on him in spurts here. Lucas getting the X button. I will not have any shares, fully fading the Mavericks.
Yeah, if you care about such things, Suggs is a good defender, and like you said, overall the Magic defensively have been pretty good. But Luka just, also like matchup proof, right?
Yeah,
what do you got?
He absolutely is. But once again, I'm still going to keep playing this angle. Like, I mean, he played Sacramento, he played Atlanta. We saw him play big minutes against the Lakers, who aren't great defensively. We've seen him terrorize Boston. I get it, but like, I just don't see this continuing extensively. Like, they're going to run him into the ground, and he's already hurt. I'm just going to start taking the fade today, and we'll see how it pans out.
46 minutes his last game versus Sacramento. 46 minutes. Did it go overtime? Did not go overtime. 46 minutes. 44 the previous game versus Atlanta. I don't think that game in overtime. I'm fairly certain it didn't. But yeah, the minutes have been outrageous, especially considering the fact that Luka, he just appears to be hurting a little bit as he's playing through whatever he's got. But he's been insane. Squirrel official takes when it comes to Luka and just this game in general. Ownership wise, we got Luka at 9%, which seems kind of low, but I also kind of sort of get it.
I don't know. I think he's going to be higher than 9%. I'm going to have more than 9%. He's gone over 75 DraftKings points 4 of his last 5 games. And the average is like 65 on the season. We've got so much value. Like if there's a reason I'm playing Quentin Grimes and Scottie Pippen Jr. One of those reasons is to get Luka Doncic. In addition to like Wembanyama and guys like that. But yeah, I'm going to be over the field on 9% Luka Doncic.
We got crunch time coming in. Anything else you want to say as far as this game? I don't mean to rush you here, but we got crunch time knocking on the door coming in. We have one more game to knock out I want to touch on. One more game for the DK slate. That's the end of the FanDuel slate. Anything else you want to prioritize? Anything else you want to stress here, Squirrel, as far as the Mavs and the Magic?
I am surprised to see. I thought Luka was going to be like 20% owned. So I'm going to be over the field at 9%.
He still might. We'll see. This stuff, we still have 45 minutes to figure it out. Couple more stars that are not getting a ton of ownership. Milwaukee taking on Denver. This is DK specific. Giannis coming in about 3% ownership. Jokic at 15. Jamal Murray at 11. Officially, we're looking at just the side in the total 239. Denver is a 4-point favorite here. Big number, pretty tight as well. Legit stars. Just salary's a thing. Ownership wise, injury wise, everybody's healthy for Denver with the exception of Strother. Milwaukee is good to go. Middleton officially available for his injury management. Giannis probable with an illness. What are we doing here, Squirrel? How do you feel about the hammer on DK?
So I'm not getting a ton of it, but I do, it's tough to fade Giannis. So one of those players you can spend up for when you're playing your Scottie Pippen and your Jacob Gilliard or, whoever you want to play in that 3,500 range, putting Grimes. I'll definitely be trying to spend up for some Giannis. I like the idea of like Giannis Jokic teams in my 150 build. So I'll be going there, with a handful of lineups at 150. Just what if the game explodes, right? What if it becomes one of those all-time classics? It's probably greater than 3 or 4% chance of that happening. So yeah, I like the idea of being over the field on Giannis, and especially 4% ownership. I'm probably going to be under on that 15% Jokic. There's just too many centers. I'll have some, but there's just too many centers to be playing like 16% Jokic on this. I like Claxton better. I like Wembanyama better. I like the Minnesota guys. I think that was a really good call. So I'm probably not going to get to 15% Jokic.
I like getting to Milwaukee from the outside, and I think Murray is an interesting spend down. You're talking about the studs in the slate. I think he's my favorite play amongst the big three, if you want to call it that. I think he's a really, really fun hammer. And, we know how Milwaukee's defense has, been weakened with the absence of Holiday, the addition of Lillard. Is this got to be Doc Rivers' debut, right? I think he's debuting tonight. Will, I know we got crunch time coming in, but if we can somehow summon Doc Rivers, Doc, how excited are you about making your debut for the Milwaukee Bucks?
Well, I'm very excited to take on and one of the greatest basketball players this generation has ever seen. This team's going to be running through Giannis. We've got Damian Lillard here, who's another just all-time fantastic basketball player, one of the best point guards I've coached since Rajon Rondo. And that's saying a lot. That is saying something. Rajon Rondo, one of the greatest basketball minds I've coached. But Giannis Antetokounmpo, the Greek freak, ABC as we call him in the DFS community, you will see him get off tonight.
Does Doc Rivers have any official DFS takes as far as Milwaukee and Denver?
I'm just glad they've gotten away from James Harden. That's what I'm thrilled about.
It's Kevin Roth. It's crunch time. We got Tasteful Tides, Tim. We have Keith in the house. What's up, Roth? Did the kids just come home? I saw a wave. Is that
they did? Time? Yeah, they usually come home just as the show starts, which is fantastic timing. But got the wave in. And Chief, that was freaking phenomenal. That was a 10 out of 10. Way to close out the show strong.
Cool.
There you go.
Cool.
I think he might need some water. Possibly. How does Doc talk like that all the time? Right? Does he always need some water?
I don't know.
It feels like, or like a coffee Boston of some sort.
Impersonation. Don't worry.
Roth, we doing all right on Monday night? Everything all right?
Feeling good. Yeah. I'm excited for this slate. I'm locking in Wemby and Luka and figuring out the rest. And there's enough value so that it doesn't even feel that bad.
You can do that. You're going to do that, and you're probably going to have a lot of Grizzlies and probably some Knicks, and that's probably the way to go there. Tim's going to help you out. Keith's going to help you out. Before we step aside and get out of here and make way for Crunch Time, the FanDuel sponsor Crunch Time, let's give the people a play. Let's give fill it in the plums, whatever you want to call it. Will, you go first. Your favorite play on this slate is who?
Rudy Gobert against the Oklahoma City Thunder.
All right, Squirrel, raise it. We got Rudy Gobert versus the Thunder. Rudy Gobert probably going to get to 17, 18, 19 rebounds against that inept team when it comes to rebounding the ball. They're spectacular in like all their facets. Squirrel, see it and raise it.
Go with Jeremy Sohan.
Ooh, I like that. Did I influence that in any way or no? I'm sure I didn't. He was already in your back pocket.
Can I go with the bonus since it's slated so big? Can I give a bonus?
Sure.
Did you say sure, Dean? Is that what you said?
Yeah. What am I going to say? No?
Absolutely not.
No, you got to go.
No, I'll make sure he didn't say score. I don't know why I heard that. But yeah, I'm going with OG Anunoby. He's like my other guy in the mid-range. I really like him tonight against Charlotte. No Randall. Should have a big game.
On behalf of Will, on behalf of Squirrel, on behalf of Doc Rivers, I was Dean. Do appreciate y'all watching the first portion. Now we got the FanDuel sponsor, Crunch Time. You got Keith Eyster, you got Tim, Tasteful Tides, and Kevin Roth. Roth, take it away.
Good stuff. Welcome to it, ladies and gents. This is indeed Crunch Time. Going to take you up to lock. We're going to take you through lock. We're going to give you some plays. We're going to answer your questions. We're going to do everything we can to help you get some winners out there. And speaking of winners, I am joined by two famous winners here. We got my guy Tasteful Tides in the house. Tim, what's up, man?
Did I hear you say that you're locking in Wemby and Luka and not Brunson?
So I noticed, I didn't realize he was in a good spot. And Steve in the chat said not locking in Brunson. And so I immediately went to my phone and made that pivot. There's Brunson there in the util. So now we got a little value. We got a little.
All right.
Now we got.
I'm just making sure because this is a Brunson night. So don't miss out. Don't miss out, Raw.
I don't know how I almost screwed that up, but I would like to make it known that is fixed.
Okay.
Brunson, Luka, Wemby. Figure out the rest is how I
OG Anunoby was just ruled out. Keith.
Oh wow. The Knicks were already great value. Yeah, and OG plays like 38-40 minutes.
That was totally not expected, right, Keith?
I don't even think he was on the injury report at all.
I don't think so. But yeah, he was just ruled out.
So real quick, hot take on Brunson. He will be the next 60-plus point scorer, and it's happening tonight. 60 points in the bucket. My boy Jalen Brunson tonight.
Not outrageous.
Yeah, that's not completely outrageous at all. But the question on this slate is that going to be good enough? There's so many ways to go about this slate. So you better have a lot more peripherals to go with those 60 points.
Yeah, we got all kinds of games. This is fantastic. CW says, WTF, I just did a single game parlay with OG in it. I assume that just, and Chief just shouted him out. He talked about how much loved him. That just gets like nulled, washed out. The whole parlay,
the payout goes down a little bit, but the parlay's still live.
Gotcha. Okay, right. That's interesting. Dean says Roth playing Brunson in the util like a donkey. I always do that. I'm the worst.
Yeah, don't do that. Don't do that, Roth.
Yeah. God, I'm so bad. Hey, we got Keith Eyster, aka the Iceman, in the house as well. Dean, you're right. You're right. Thank you for correcting me. Ice, what's up, man?
Yeah, wild slate. As Tim kind of alluded to, there's so many ways that you can go on this slate. I think the cheap value that we have in Memphis and New York is really good, but there's a ton of ways you can get different at the top range. So that's kind of how I'm approaching this slate. There are multiple ways to attack it. You can try to get cute with the cheap stuff, pivot away from the Memphis guys. But for me, Memphis is in such a good spot with only 8 guys as of right now. We do still have Vince Williams questionable as well. So, and I guess they did sign Matt Hurt.
Yeah, it's actually 9.
It's 9 guys now.
I think they gave the G League guy 8 minutes. I think, Keith.
Okay. Yeah. So I mean that's not really impacting it all that much. I don't think they're going to play him if they don't have to. So if Vince Williams is active, like just really shorthanded situation in Memphis there. I'm totally on board with the value. So that lets me do pretty much whatever else I want with the rest of the lineup, kind of like Roth was just talking. Like getting all 3 of those guys is absolutely in play tonight.
Yeah, play your dudes. Whoever it is you love playing, tonight is the night you can make that happen. Super fun slate. We have roughly 35 minutes to break this down. We generally like to start with FanDuel because, hey, the show is sponsored by FanDuel after all. And we like to start with a cash build. And for that, we hand it over to my guy, Tim. You want to give me... I feel like we've done the overview a little bit. Do you just want to dive into a build here on FanDuel?
Sure. I mean, the first guy up for me on... Yeah.
Let me pause you. Is there anything we're still waiting on that really matters before we get into the build?
Well, I think Keith alluded to it a little bit with Vince Williams in Memphis. That's pretty important. If Williams were to miss, then they would really only have 8 guys, one of them being a G Leaguer. So, and then I think that the AD LeBron questionables are actually real questionables. It would not shock me if one of those guys sat. So that's kind of important because I think that those are real. I don't know if Keith has a take on that, but I think those are actually real Q tags. Other than that, I don't think there's any other news other than this OG news is pretty big because the Knicks were already shorthanded. And so, the Knicks are, all those guys' usages are going to go up a little bit. So I think that's the stuff that we're waiting for.
Okay, very good. Well, then let's do it. Let's run through a build and let me know what you're doing. Because I feel like maybe a cash build is even harder than a tournament build because there's so much really good stuff that it's tough to get the best of it. But that is your job. So what do you like?
Yeah, so all kidding aside, point guard on FanDuel, Jalen Brunson is going to be on my cash build, 100%. Buddy. So 9,300, even fewer players on the Knicks now. Amazing spot against Charlotte. So 9,300, I am definitely playing Jalen Brunson in cash. After that, it gets a little bit harder in your second point guard spot. Our projections love Jacob Gilyard at 4,100. I think that he is certainly viable. He's going to play minutes in probably the high 20s, but he's not a huge points per minute guy. So he's kind of a little scary, but he's just so cheap and he's going to play minutes. So he is certainly viable. And then we have all these really expensive guys that you can also play in cash. So if you elect to pay down at other positions, you could pay up for Donovan Mitchell. You could pay up for Luka. Luka is very expensive on FanDuel. I think he's a little bit kind of hard to get to, but we do have a lot of value. So, but it's also not the best matchup. So I don't know. I think Luka will not be on my cash game team. And then Shea at 11K is viable. I think if Scottie Pippen is in the starting lineup, you should play him over Gilliard, and he's only $300 more, so he's $4,400. He would be my preferred punt. There's plenty of choices and different price ranges you can go about at point guard, but Brunson is definitely 100% cash game lock for me. Shooting guard, Josh Hart is definitely going to be on your cash game team, either at shooting guard or small forward. Quentin Grimes, the same thing, shooting guard, small forward. Both for the Knicks in that amazing matchup against Charlotte. So I'm definitely playing 3 Knicks in cash on both FanDuel and DK. So, is Vince Williams out? Oh boy.
Just got that. Yep.
So, wow.
Load up even more, boy.
So what Memphis? Who does that help? We were already like, all right, we're gonna play all the Memphis guys. Now we're just gonna play them more. Like,
yeah, it's really gonna help. I would assume. Scottie Pippen even more. I would assume Scottie starts, right, Keith, or Gigi Jackson.
I think probably Gigi. They'll only start one of Pippen or Gilliard, I think.
Okay. So now Gigi.
So.
So now Gigi is going to be
even
more popular. Yeah. I mean, that changes everything. They only have 8 guys now, including one of them being a G leaguer. So,
that they signed off the street today.
Right. Matt Hurt. So, So it's definitely, you're definitely going for Memphis guys in cash. We'll have to see what the projections look like.
Don't tell me the numbers. I want to hear the names, man.
Yeah, okay. I'll get back to
they're in a
names.
uniform for Memphis tonight. They're in play.
Yeah, pretty much. Okay. It's really but yeah, so I still think Quentin Grimes is fine. I'm still playing Josh Hart in cash. But guys that, we were considering playing, now we're just going to get switched to whoever's starting for Memphis. Do they even have I got to check if they even have a shooting guard eligible on FanDuel. They do not. They do not. Okay, that's why I couldn't find anybody. So yeah, you can play Hart, and then you can play Grimes at shooting guard, and those can be your 2 shooting guards. And then small forward, David Roddy. I think he's like an absolute core cash play. He was a core cash play before this Vince Williams news. He should absolutely crush this price tag at $4,800. A guy that I would be overweight on in tournaments as well. Definitely not a spot that I'm looking to fade. His role is going to be massive. This team's going to get crushed most likely, but they have to play. So, it's not a spot that it's not a spot that I'm going to avoid. And then he's the only small forward for Memphis. So he's the only guy that we got to worry about for the Grizzlies. And then Cam Thomas. I think Brooklyn was very interesting to me earlier in the day. I think getting to like maybe 1 Brooklyn piece in cash is fine if you don't want to go all Knicks. Like, you have to play 4 Memphis guys, but if you don't want to go like Knicks heavy, getting to like 1 or 2 Brooklyn pieces, I think is really a good play. So like Mikal Bridges or Cam Thomas in cash is totally fine. Bridges is 79, Thomas is 66, so they're fine for cash. And then power forward, if you're not playing Roddy at small forward, you have to play him at power forward. And then same thing with Jaren Jackson. He's the only chance this team has to stay competitive. I like him kind of better on FanDuel just because stocks are worth more on FanDuel. So if he can somehow stay out of foul trouble and somehow just be on the court, he should do extremely well. If you don't want to pay that price tag, or you can play both of them, you could play Santi Aldama at 5,500. He's another guy that's going to have to play an absolute ton. So, and then there's Wemby, who is a way better play on DK, but even at FanDuel at 10-3, I really like the matchup. He's one of the reasons why I don't necessarily want to play Luka at 12-5. when I only lose like 5 projected median points and save $2,000 and play Wemby in the best possible matchup facing Washington. So Wemby's definitely a guy that you can play in all formats at power forward or center. And then going over to the center position, it's Wemby, it's Jackson, it's Aldama. Like I said, I was really heavy on Brooklyn earlier. Now they have fallen significantly, but I think they're still viable. So if you land at 7,800, you can play Claxton. And that would be about it for me at the center position.
Okay, very good. Ice, let's talk tournaments here. Before you even get into position by position, like what's the game plan? How are you attacking this slate?
Yeah, so I definitely want to break down this Memphis situation a little bit, just because I think there are very clear upside plays. And guys, if I am looking to avoid some Memphis guys, I would say the 2 names I'm looking to avoid are Jacob Gilyard, especially if he does not start. I think Scottie Pippen has far more upside. He's has had much more usage. He's a better fantasy point per minute player. So give me Pippen over Gilyard. And Xavier Tillman, I'd be really concerned about his minutes. I don't think they want to play him if they don't have to. They're definitely going to have to play him some minutes tonight. But he's been dealing with a bulky knee for several weeks now. Has been playing in that like 15 to 18 minute range. So like it wouldn't surprise me if Tillman is kind of limited in this spot and we see less than 20 minutes for him. Of course, maybe the knee is feeling fine and he goes out there and he plays 30 minutes tonight. He'd be a great play in that situation, obviously, with ceiling. But because of that injury he's been dealing with, I'm going to probably not have Tillman, and I'll be underweight on Gilyard. I think Jaren Jackson, Santi Aldama, Gigi Jackson, David Roddy, and Scottie Pippen Jr. are fantastic plays. And I very, very rarely play 4 players from the same team in a tournament lineup. I'm okay with 4 Memphis players in tournament lineups tonight. That's how good this situation is.
This G League guy that they just called up, I assume he's not even rosterable. Is that?
No, he is not rosterable. And like, I mean, I can't imagine he plays more than like 20 minutes in this spot. So you're probably looking for 30 plus, looking at 30 plus from everyone outside of like Tillman and maybe one of Pippen or Gilyard, I would say could come in under 30.
Okay, that sounds good. But that's not the only value spot. We talked about the Knicks as well. So just let's run through a build and just all your thoughts on all of it.
Yeah, let me do a refresh here. See if we got those new Knicks projections up. See if anybody got a significant bump. I imagine DiVincenzo probably is going to see a few extra minutes here. Yeah, so Brunson was already popping, Grimes was already popping, and Hart already popping. DiVincenzo definitely got a 3-minute boost. Achua looks like we gave him a few more minutes. Miles McBride is probably the biggest beneficiary here. It really doesn't change a lot on the Knicks. Like I mentioned, Grimes and Hart were already fantastic values. A decent bump to DiVincenzo, and Brunson was already one of the best spend-ups on the slate. So the OG news just makes it. I think DiVincenzo is the one that kind of jumps in as a really strong play in the mid-range, where we've seen DiVincenzo play like 26 minutes before and really not be that necessary. I think there's a great chance that he plays over 30 minutes now for sure.
Okay, we also did get news, Conchar and Zaire Alexander. I think that Zaire
Williams.
Yeah, we were expecting that.
We were
expecting that. Yeah.
Very good. And then did get a question here from Hammer that says, do we need a Grizz run back if we're playing 4 Grizzlies? Do we need a run back?
No, I do not believe so. You're playing them because they're going to play 30 minutes and they're way underpriced.
Yeah. Okay. Let's kind of go through a build. Is that cool? Can you do that on FanDuel for me?
Yes. So I'm leaning into all the cheap chalk. So my favorite way to get different is at the top range. Wembanyama is in an awesome spot. Jalen Brunson is in an awesome spot, but I can also find a ton of upside at a lot lower ownership from those guys as well. So I'll just go through like by position, some of my favorite ways to spend up. And that's basically what I'm doing. I'm basically running like a cash shell with the value, and then pivoting to unowned guys virtually in the upper upper range of the salary. So,
which is so fun. Like you just get to play
like
great dudes.
Donovan Mitchell
score
under 10%.
Right.
Like,
He
not a
might
great
drop
matchup,
40
but-
real life points. Like
Exactly.
It's great.
Yep.
Okay.
Devin Booker is one of my favorite plays on the entire slate. Dude has just been going absolutely nuts. Over 40 points in 4 of his last 6 games, coming off a 60-point game 2 games ago. Like, nobody's playing Devin Booker tonight. So just give me Booker over Brunson. If Booker beats Brunson, then I'm ahead of a ton of the field.
Mm-hmm.
James Harden, I think, is definitely in play. D'Angelo Russell has shown a fantastic ceiling here recently. Tides mentioned he thinks AD and LeBron are actually questionable. I kind of agree with that. They all played like upper 40s minutes in their game 2 days ago. Saturday it was, I believe. So, like, there's a chance that one of AD or LeBron rests. Like, D'Angelo Russell would be a phenomenal play in that scenario if even just one of them rests.
We did just get news here real quick that Grimes is not starting. Precious is starting.
He was not. We did not have him projected to start.
Okay. Did we have Precious projected?
We did not.
No.
Yeah, because we had OG. So Precious is coming in for OG. Grimes was not projected to start.
I got you. Yeah.
Grimes is still a great play.
Okay.
We did move Grimes into the starting lineup after the
we did.
news. So
okay.
His projection might change a little bit, but it's going to be a couple of minutes down, if anything.
Okay.
Like, I don't think it's like you probably see Precious get a bump up to 28 and Grimes get a bump down a little bit.
Okay. Just making sure.
Yep. All right. So some other guards, just living in this upper range where guys are not owned. Anthony Edwards is one of those guys. Tough matchup against Oklahoma City, but dude has a massive ceiling. Let's see, mention Williams or Russell already. Colin Sexton, a guy that I like. Tim mentioned that the Brooklyn side. It's a great matchup against Utah. If you're looking for some run backs for Brooklyn guys, I do think Colin Sexton very much in play. Jalen Green, a guy I'm targeting as well at 6,800. I like that price. He's got a little bit of more ownership than I would like, but I think he's a solid play. And then Austin Reeves, another one, like just hoping you get lucky with a LeBron or AD out that nobody's really thinking about right now. Those Russell and Reeves would become fantastic plays. Moving over to forwards, I think Jason Tatum is in a great spot. He's one of the guys that is just slightly above 10%, but still like 13% for Jason Tatum. Loving that ownership number. Lauri Markkanen, a guy that's shown huge ceiling. Kevin Durant, I do prefer Booker if choosing, and I would not play Booker and Durant together. That Miami matchup on paper looks really ugly. They play slow. They play good defense. Miami has been struggling hard since Terry Rozier has joined the team. I think they've lost 6 games in a row. And they have not played great defense with Terry Rozier as well. So that's part of the reason that I'm heavily targeting Booker. Durant is in that same matchup. But again, with Bam on the other side, I do prefer the matchup for Booker. Let's see here. Kyle Kuzma is a guy I think is a great play. San Antonio is an awesome matchup. Michael Bridges, Tim mentioned, I don't mind him as well. Let's see. Keegan Murray is a guy who I like a decent amount here against this Memphis team. Like, I don't know if I want to spend all the way up to Sabonis and Fox because I think the blowout risk is very significant. But a guy in the mid-range, he could get there in 3 quarters, Keegan Murray, especially if his threes are falling. So I do like him. If you are looking for a run back on Memphis stuff, Triple J is obviously fantastic. He just has to play minutes. I would have to think the coach has given him strict instructions to keep him out of foul trouble today. They just don't have the bodies. Like, even if he gets 3 fouls in the first half, they kind of have to keep him out there, or like they're going to be playing with 7 guys, and that's not going to be ideal for them. Jared Allen is a great play. Evan Mobley is back, but he's on a minutes restriction. So I think Jared Allen's still very much in play. Love the power forward eligibility here on FanDuel. Kawhi, another low-owned stud who's had awesome ceiling. Not a great game environment, but Kawhi Leonard at 1%, and I like the rest of my lineup. Like, I'm all aboard paying for these stars that are under 10% owned. Mm-hmm. At the center position, I mentioned Sabonis. I think the blowout risk is real, but I do have one lineup out of 20 with him in it. Anthony Davis, I really like getting up to him. If he does get ruled out, you can pivot down to LeBron. So I like
They're both
building heavy.
they're both in.
They're both
Both
in.
in?
It looks
Okay.
like, yeah.
Yeah.
That's all right. Still like him. We just for that ceiling, 6% ownership showing here on FanDuel. There's nothing saying he can't be the top scorer on the slate. So still have some Anthony Davis, Rudy Gobert in a good matchup with Oklahoma City. They give up a ton of rebounds, which is exactly what Rudy Gobert does. Nick Claxton is underpriced for the amount of minutes he's been playing, and an awesome matchup against Utah. A little risk with Ben Simmons expected back today, that he just doesn't quite get up to mid-30s minutes, but I still like him. I think the upside is tremendous because of the matchup. Let's see here. I think that about covers it. I don't mind Bam at low ownership. I think that about covers it.
Okay, very good. That means we can kick it over to DK. First, we should mention, though, this show, by the way, presented by FanDuel. If you bet $5, you get $200 in bonus bets if your bet wins. For new users in Arizona, Colorado, Connecticut, Illinois, Indiana, Iowa, Kansas, Kentucky, Louisiana, Maryland, Massachusetts, Michigan, New Jersey, New York, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Tennessee, Virginia, Vermont, West Virginia, and Wyoming. Why did I butcher that read? I've hit it like 100 times in a row. Terms and conditions apply. Must be 21 and up. Gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. I think we slid in a new state there that I wasn't.
I was going to ask if the states have changed on you. Maybe
I think we added a new
Vermont.
state.
It's
threw
Vermont.
up the whole flow of the read. Tim, let's talk DK. I almost have the perfect lineup on one spot. I might need your guys' help with later, but let's go through the cash build. And I'm just praying that my build is not the cash build, and I'm not as chalky as I think I am.
Yeah, so it's pretty similar on DK. Definitely got, the Jacob Gilyard, Jalen Brunson, Scottie Pippen situation. I think Luka is more in play on DK than he is on FanDuel. I think he's a little bit easier to get to. Certainly not saying not to play Luka in cash. I mean, he easily could go for 80. I'm personally not playing Luka in cash on DK, but I certainly is a fine play. You got the cheap Memphis guys. You got Brunson. Our projections love FEV at 7,500. I've got no issue with that either. So those would be my cash game options at point guard. Moving over to shooting guard. Quentin Grimes. I don't know if we've gotten the full update yet on the Knicks with their new starting lineup. He's still going to project really well, and he should definitely be in your shooting guard spot on DK for cash. If you don't want to do that and you have some little extra money, you can go to Dante DiVincenzo or Cam Thomas for $100 more. I think Jalen Green at 6,200 is definitely cash game viable also. At 6,200, Houston's pretty cheap. So if you find yourself in that mid-range and need a player, I think Jalen Green is just fine. Small forward, it's Gigi Jackson, 4,200. Definitely should be in your cash game build, whether it's small forward or power forward. And then same thing with Josh Hart. Those two are definitely going to be in my cash game build. Again, you can go DiVincenzo for a little bit more over Hart, but I really do prefer Hart in this matchup. That's really the only. I think Cameron Johnson at 5,100 would be interesting also, but I think he's better for tournaments, not cash. Power forward, David Roddy once again definitely has to be in your cash game lineup, and Wembanyama has got to be in your cash game lineup at 8,900. He is not a must play in cash on FanDuel, but he is a must play in cash on DK for 8,900. Absolutely amazing spot against Washington. Way too cheap. He's projected for 55 as a median projection. So, I mean, that's just an absolute smash. Jaren Jackson, if you're like double punting point guard and you can double pay up at power forward, you can go Wemby. You can put Gigi at small forward, and then you can go, Jaren and Wemby at pay ups at power forward and center, because Jaren Jackson's projected very, very well. And we are likely playing at least 4 Memphis guys in cash on both sites. So possibly even more on DK, but I'd probably stick with 4. At center, it's the David Roddy, Wemby, Jackson kind of crew. But then we also We also have the Denver-Milwaukee game that we didn't have on FanDuel. FanDuel's not offering that game. We have Jokic. I personally, if I'm going to spend up on a player in the very, very high range, it's going to be Jokic over Luka for me. So if you absolutely,
I was expecting you to say the exact opposite of what just came out of your mouth.
Yeah, I actually prefer saving the 500 and playing Jokic, but really, personally, I'm not playing either one of those guys in cash. So because there's just so many guys like in this mid 8 range, like Brunson, Wemby, Jackson, like some of these guys on the slate, I don't feel like I really have to go up all the way up. So maybe that's the wrong idea, but I prefer Jokic for today.
Okay. Very interesting. Ice, let's kick it to you. So many people in the chat are saying they're doing the Brunson, Wemby, Luka build. This is my build. I've waited all season for this. Don't run up my ownership on my build. I'm just struggling with where I want to go with like ordering this value. Like, how important is Aldama in a DK GPP compared to a Roddy? Like, where does this kind of fall, or is it who knows and just play as many of them as you can?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of the latter there. It's really difficult to discern between Aldama or Roddy. Like, either one of them can smash, but which one is it going to be tonight is a much more difficult question. Yeah. I don't really have a strong lean, especially on those two. I would say that Pippen over Gilliard is my biggest conviction of the Memphis stuff. Like, I would definitely play Pippen like 9 times out of 10 over Gilliard probably. So I'm going to end up underweight on Gilliard and overweight on Pippen, despite their ownership being leaning in that direction as well. Like, Pippen is almost twice as owned as Gilliard, but I think that's correct. And so that's how I'm constructing my lineups as well. I think Gigi Jackson is maybe a guy who has a ridiculous ceiling in this spot. So, like, my priorities would be Pippen first, and this is DK specifically. Pippen first. I think Gregory Jackson would be second. And then it's Roddy over Aldama for me, and it's really just because of the savings. He's $1,000 cheaper than Aldama, and I just feel like they're the same type. They're the same exact play today. So I don't have a strong lean between those two. Give me the cheaper Roddy.
Okay. All right. You want to walk through a build here, or you feel like we've already basically done that?
Yeah, I mean, it's really the exact same. I just wanted to touch on the Grimes situation. We did knock Grimes down to 24 minutes. Still grading out as about a neutral value. He's 3,700. He helps make things work. Feel pretty confident he's going to be out there for at least 20 minutes. So a great spot for him. And then Precious, we gave the bump to 32 minutes. So he enters the tournament conversation now as well. 5,200 is a little bit pricey, but if he's going to play over 30 minutes, he's very much in play at that price even, and has the power forward eligibility, which is nice.
Okay, great. Well, I want to open it up for questions, but I'm going to start because I'm greedy with my own question. I almost have the perfect lineup, but on DK at forward or shooting guard, I've got $4,200 left, and there's somehow nothing there.
Yeah, just point guards on Memphis is kind of the problem. Let's see, 4,200. So it could be shooting guard, small forward, or power forward.
Correct.
Okay.
And you already have Gigi Jackson?
Definitely. It's me, Breezy says Roth. Literally everyone has that build. I'm so chalky. I always think I'm so smart and I'm so chalky. Anything over there that we like? So that
Royce O'Neal is fine. He's probably going to play the most minutes.
I was going to say Kelly O.
Yeah, don't hate that call. There are some Dallas questionables. So potentially Jaden Hardy could become useful if Dante Exum gets ruled out. I'd probably still lean Royce O'Neal in that spot. Right. Or
basically, I've landed in a crappy spot, and this is not going to win me a tournament. Right. Because you can't, this is not the kind of slate where you can play a dude who you're like, that guy's kind of okay, right? There's too many awesome plays to be playing something decent, right?
I would imagine the winning score tonight is going to be absolutely massive.
Right. I can't just play a dude who's going to get me, 20 fantasy points at 4K. Like that ain't going to cut it tonight,
No, it's not going to
All right. Well, Kellyo, you're in for now. And all right. Okay. Hey, let's get to everybody else's questions. They are more important than mine. So I'm starting, as always, in the RG Discord. By the way, if you're watching this and you're trying to remember how much money you paid to watch this show, it's free. All we ask is that you hit the thumbs up. That's it. It is somehow free. You just got to like and subscribe would be nice as well. Let's dive into the QQs. I will start with Mixtape Dave, DK single entry, Ice, Aldama, or Hart.
I think Hart's minutes are super safe as well. Like he's going to play 30 plus in this spot, but Aldama is definitely going to. I'll go Aldama there. I think he has the higher ceiling.
Okay, great. DK GPP. I've already got Grimes and Hart. Ice. Would you prefer the last piece to be DiVincenzo, Trey Jones, Tyus, Cam Thomas?
I do like all four of those guys. I think I would lean Tyus Jones there would be my favorite.
Okay, great. NBA DFS says, let's see here. FanDuel cash question. Tides, you want Sabonis, DiVincenzo, and Gigi Jackson, or I think that's Triple J, Aldama, and Cam Thomas.
The first one.
Okay, great. FanDuel cash, another 3v3. So get your thinking cap on here. FanDuel cash from Aside. You want Luka, Grimes, Cam Thomas, or the Brunson burner, Boncaro, and Aldama?
I hadn't considered Boncaro. I got to look at how much he is real quick. Yeah, I guess go with the first one.
Okay. DK GPP question. Ice, Jalen Green and Roddy, or Aldama and Herter?
First one for me.
FanDuel GPP. Ice, right back to you. Oh, here you go. Ice. He says, Ice, man. Are you playing Luka?
Yes, for sure.
Yeah, buddy. FanDuel cash
Do you have more
question.
Luka or Jokic, Keith?
I have more Luka slightly.
Slightly. You guys are on drugs. Have you seen what Luka has been doing lately? Like, I feel like Luka
Can
is...
he continue to do this? Like they have to pull back the reins at some point. But I completely agree. I will say that Orlando
Exum's out and Derek Jones Jr. is out.
That opens up some Dallas stuff, but it's still not going to be anywhere near as good as Memphis or the Knicks.
But if you're in a rough spot, maybe Hardy slides in over Kelly O.
I don't think Hardy is crazy. Grant Williams absolutely nuked in this spot over the weekend. I wouldn't expect that again. But Grant Williams is a big beneficiary here. Mm-hmm. Josh Green already projected for a bunch of minutes. His minutes floor is going to be 30 at least. So Dallas is definitely in play now. I was just about to talk a little bit about the matchup while we were discussing Luka. Like Orlando's been a very solid defensive team this year, so it's not the easiest of spots, but that does not matter for a guy like Luka. But it is a slower game environment as well compared to that for Jokic.
Yeah. Okay, that's fair. Let's see what else we've got here. FanDuel cash, DiVincenzo or Aldama. Those are two good plays there. Do you have a strong lean either way?
I would go DiVincenzo.
Okay, great. This is a FanDuel GPP Ice. Monk, DiVincenzo, and Gigi, or Cam Thomas, Aldama, Grimes.
Give me the first one.
Bill T says Luka could pull up lame in any game. Of course, Luka could still get you 60 or so. Yeah, like I mean, anybody could get hurt. I feel like
he's already playing hurt, and he's putting up 100 points.
Yeah. And playing 40 minutes a night. Yeah.
Back to back. They were like 44 and 46 or something absolutely insane. Yes. Let's see here. All right. Jumping into the YouTube chat. So many people have my build. It's just so pathetic. Why am I the way I am? Joe says, Ice, DK, I need your best guard under 6,600. That's a fun question.
Best guard under 6,600. DK, that was?
Yes, it was.
I like Jalen Green the best. I like Tyus Jones a lot as well.
Okay. DKGPP, Ice, back to you here. Jimmy Butler to round out kind of like a mid-high range lineup like Wemby, Jamal Murray, throwing in some Jimmy Butler.
I never like to play Jimmy Butler. 7,600. Let me see if there's a play that I prefer there. I mean, of course, Jimmy Butler's in play, just not a guy that I often get to a ton. Yeah, I prefer Gobert if you have the center spot available. If it's util, I prefer Gobert, but yeah, Jimmy's fine otherwise.
And it sounds like he's got Jamal Murray, so that's not a chalky play either. So he doesn't need to do anything different at this point, just to be different, right?
Right. Yeah. I mean, you just want to play the best projected play.
Yeah. Okay. Daryl says, if Gilliard gets me 50, the slate is mine. Is that wishful thinking? He asks. I feel like it is based on what we've seen.
But he's going to be so popular.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not necessarily going to be a winner for you.
Yeah.
So
50 is wishful thinking for sure. But Grant Williams did it Saturday or whatever that was.
Did he really? You said he
like
knew
53 DK points in this situation last
nice. Time. I want it noted whenever there's Mavs like injury stuff, he's always the guy that I want. Like he's my go-to in those situations. Bryant says, okay, quick question. Single entry. He's got 7,200 for shooting guard and 7,200 for the util. That makes it tough. Now we're doing math. You're making Ice do math, but do your best for us. 7,200 shooting guard
on DK or FanDuel.
Yeah. I assume he doesn't mean total. Brian.
Yeah, he said util. It's got to be DK.
It is DK. Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's just do 7,200 for shooting guard.
Okay.
I don't really understand the full question, honestly.
So he's got 14.4 total salary and needs a shooting guard in a util.
I would go Cam Thomas and JJJ, Jaren Jackson. That's 14-1.
Okay, there you go. That works.
Great
Perfect.
combo. Yep.
FanDuel question, Tim. Sohan or Precious Achua?
I like both, but I guess I want to build into that Washington San Antonio game, so I'm going to go Sohan.
I'm building into that as well. By the way, we're somehow less than a minute until lock. That happened very, very quickly. Make sure you get your lineups in. Best player on DK. Ice will call this here util 8,700 or less as we come upon the lock. 8,700 or less.
Jamal Murray. Well, Şengün at 8,700 is my favorite. Jamal Murray. It would be my second favorite.
Okay, guys, with that, we have hit lock. This is going to be a fun one. Just don't get mad if you score 350 points and don't cash, because it might be one of those kind of nights. I'm going to score 450, and I'm going to take down all my tourneys. So with that, we are going to get on out of here. So for Tides, for Ice, for our wonderful production crew, always working hard behind the scenes, guys, we appreciate you. We love you. Hit us a little thumbs up on your way out. You have been crushed.